Hey, it's Darren Johnson, publisher of Campus News newspaper. We hit 37 colleges, two-year colleges in the Northeast, and we've existed since February 1st, 2010. I just finished proofing the latest issue. It's going to be here any second now from the printer. You can see some proofreading marks. Yes, the paper gets proofread. Even if it gets proofread, and I'm a pretty strong proofreader. I did it as a living for a couple of years, and I have masters and bachelors in English. It's a newspaper. It comes out in a timely way, and because of that, there will always be some kind of mistakes. But you have to print it out and proofread it. I'd say I can go back to any old newspaper, any old episode, any old issue of ours, and find at least 5 errors after it's published. 5 obvious errors, and probably 20 gray area. And there's so many style books that some things go into a gray area. But mistakes happen, and that's the difference between a newspaper and a New York published book that's on the New York Times bestseller list. That might only have maybe 2 or 3 errors in the whole book. A newspaper will have more. Every newspaper will. So these are the proofreading comments. And a lot of times when I have a new writer, I will send the proofreading pages back to the writer to show where changes were made so the mistakes don't happen again. So also recently, I went down to our archives and picked up the first copy of Campus News, which hit 6 years ago, like I said. And here it is. It's a really long, you can see how long it is. It's a long tabloid. It's an old-fashioned style. When I first started the paper, there were a few printers still doing this, and that's how I got the best price. I went with this old-fashioned style. It's a really long, it's almost the size of a broadsheet newspaper, and it is definitely not a style that's in vogue anymore, and probably wasn't even in vogue 6-7 years ago. Most papers have gone to a smaller size where it's more readable, more magazine-ish, and this was the first issue. The little lesson is, and I didn't know how to do certain things back then. I don't have pull quotes, for example. Even though I knew what pull quotes were, I just didn't think to add them. And the layout's not nearly as good as it is today. You learn over time. The lesson is that you could start a publication, and it doesn't have to be great from the start. I think the reason why so many new publications fail is they only last a year or two, is they try too hard too quick. They buy all new, shiny new Macs, and I worked for one of these publications, like I said, as a copy editor for a couple of years. It was a paper that they spent a lot of money up front, and they hired a big staff. They hired the best of the best. And it died after less than 2 years. You could buy shiny new Macs, you can do all these things thinking, all right, this is what an established publication has. How will my publication be different? And you end up, having this whole crazy office situation going on. We did get advertisements in the first issue. You can see the graphics aren't that great. Here's just clip art, for example. And you can see this big wall of text. I did have a pull quote here. But big wall of text. I put the comic guy who since has quit. He's quit doing comics. He got married. And he says his new wife won't let him do comics anymore. But I misjudged the pages, so the ads that came in were the wrong size, and so I filled up the rest of the pages with comics. I got most of my writers through Craigslist, so the writers weren't college students at first. Some of them were, but most of them weren't, because how do you get college student writers if you don't have a paper that they've actually seen? So now it's almost all college students writing it, and me, and a couple of professors, and then that's about it. Our wire service is even a college student wire service. So you can see it's really gray and a lot of pop culture type stuff. This headline's way too close to the photo. Here's a house ad. A house ad for us. More of that guy's comics. Another house ad. And I just had pictures. The pictures weren't really all that editorial. I had poetry and fiction in the first issue, so that's a little odd, right? And another ad, and then some local content, but it wasn't really all that good. More comics. Same guy. Now I have different comics. I use a service, syndicated service. Back cover ad, charge a little bit more for that. And a lot of these advertisers are still with the paper all these years later. So they believed in the paper from the start. And here's the paper today. See, much smaller in size. And it's almost about a third smaller in physical size. Now it's up to 32 pages. So it's grown over 6.5 years. I didn't blow all my money up front. I didn't go too nuts. Built it slow and steady. What I've done is, with design, although this next issue that's going to press is going to have a cartoon guy up here in the corner. I just put a little check mark next to it to make sure the resolution was okay, and it was. But what I've done with the paper is it's saddle stapled now, so it has more of that magazine-ish type feel to it. It's not going to litter anything. I have a cover ad now, a really attractive cover ad. I make sure that they give us an attractive ad. A little box over here, instead of that, the old paper had like a green box, and this is just a little box. I made it look like a cell phone. It's kind of like what Windows 10 looks like, that type of look. And the masthead is about the same, although we're changing the masthead to exclusive print-only college edition because so many two-year schools now also have a four-year element, so I don't want to exclude those students. Two stories on the cover. Again, that look that's kind of like a cell phone type look with little pictures, because so many people are reading cell phones now. Inside cover ad, stories, much better layout, charts, more ads, and again, it's 32 pages, so let me just cut inside. This ad, Omaha Steaks, I've never tried them, but it does really well. It's made the company thousands of dollars, and it's only a few $100 ad. So it's an example of an ad that is bringing in a lot more money than the ad actually costs. I know that because it's a paper call type ad. The next president should call staff, says Prof. So we have harder news stories. The campuses now send us press releases too, which helps. And the writers are mostly student writers, or at least people who work in colleges. I still write my column on Netflix. I don't have to pay myself. Here's one from Professor Jack Mandel. Here's a student writer of ours, just got an internship, so she wrote about that at Cosmopolitan Magazine. See? You can go from campus news to Cosmo. We partnered with the College Media Advisors, which is the big student newspaper organization. They used to ignore us like 6 years ago, and they've had some changes in leadership and such, and now they're kind of friendly with us. So we're part of the establishment now, whereas 6 years ago we were more of a guerrilla entity. We have puzzles and other syndicated content, classifieds. The comics some are syndicated. One, I still have a person that is exclusive to us. Try to have stories that appeal to all the campuses. We have a lot of SUNY campuses. We believe in print journalism. Some house ads still. See, that came from a press release. That came from a press release. That came from the Student Law Press Association, which I'm also trying to build a relationship with. Nassau Cheerleaders. See, it's hard to have a paper that covers multiple campuses. You have to have stories that are interesting to everyone. And then Mercy College, who you saw before in an advertisement. Here they are again. So, and then we have a column in the back, and then a back cover ad. So it's 32 pages now, much bigger. I skipped a few pages in there. But that's campus news and how it's grown. Again, the lesson is, if you're starting a publication or a website or whatever you're starting, some kind of business, you don't have to start with it, being advanced right away. You can start with it being small and then working your way up slowly over time. There's lots of ways to skin a cat. In fact, I think as a business model, it's probably better to start humbly and then build to something. And I'd say at this point, with Campus News, we're at probably a midway point, and we're going to be even bigger in the years ahead. But so far, we've grown, and it's been a fun project. But where do all the students go? They go to read Campus News. So enjoy your day. Thank you very much. It's Darren Johnson, publisher of Campus News. Find us on the web at www.campus-news.org. campus-news.org. You can find out how to advertise, how to write for us, etc., etc., etc. Thank you.